Okay, today we're in Gettysburg National Park, and it's a very mild winter day. However, a bit of a challenge with the cloud cover. It's kind of a mostly cloudy day here. There's spots of blue in the sky, but it's this thin, hazy cloud cover. Almost drove me back home, but decided to give it a shot. So I'm painting the John Slyder Farm in Gettysburg. It's a very neat barn. A lot of history behind it during the battle. I think, if I remember correctly, it ended up becoming somewhat of a hospital for injured soldiers during the battle. Starting out very thin. I'm not expecting these clouds to lift, so hopefully that will be the case. But I'm going to block in basically the approximate shape of the barn. I'm using the surrounding tree color right now. There's very little color in this scene because virtue of it being wintertime with all this snow and just because we don't have much sunlight. This line right here, I had a piece of tape there. I was going to, when I was out west, use this canvas for some plein air painting, and I was going to save this section for some color swatches, but decided not to do that. So that line's just something to ignore. There's a lot of trees behind this barn here, and there's even more distant trees. And I'm really just using transparent red oxide, ultramarine blue, and white. Just kind of block all this in for right now. I'll leave it at that. They have a door open on the side of the barn, which is really neat. In the past, that wasn't always the case. Okay, let me just go over my colors really quick. Titanium white, yellow, cad yellow light, cad orange. I probably won't touch these two colors at all. Yellow ochre, transparent red oxide, alizarin permanent, ultramarine blue, cobalt blue, cerulean blue, viridian, and chromium green oxide. I'm going to gently block in that dark door there. It's going to be good for gauging values off of. In the foreground there's these rocks. It's a stone wall. Vary up the design just a little bit. There's these kind of weeds and things like that out here. There we go. In the distance there's a lavenderish color. It's probably the most, it's the sky further back. It's probably the most colorful thing out here right now. Just gotta thinly block that in. It's probably a little too lavender. So let's go in with some, should I go a little cerulean? Put down a little too far with those trees. Gonna block in the sky. Keeping the paint fairly thin because there are some trees that get kind of thin and go over that sky. And I might want to paint some of that thin stuff in. I'm not going to bother too much with it because it's just drawing stuff that I can honestly do later with my camera if I need to, back in the studio. For those of you who might be interested, I teach online. I teach online classes. And if you want to check it out, go to my website, jasontako.com, and you can learn more about it. It's done through Zoom, which is nice, because unlike I know a lot of other artists are doing the whole thing where you pay annual subscription and you watch a video that they pre-made, but this is live, so you can ask questions if you want to. And you get live feedback on your work if you so choose. Not everybody chooses to, but check it out. I try to be very generous with my students, and all the sessions are recorded, so if you just prefer to watch a recording, you can do that too. There's some fence business going on in there. I'll get that in a little later. When we do the classes, the live classes, we do not paint this fast. I have to go very fast because I'm plein air painting, but we do it in the studio, so it's a bit slower, quite a bit slower. So you don't have to get nervous thinking, oh my goodness, if I take his classes, I got to paint this fast. No, you don't. I sometimes like to do this to add some texture, and not, if I feel myself getting locked down into a drawing, I like to do this to eliminate that feeling. Okay, now I'm going to mix some more of this snow color. It's the dominant color in this whole scene. And it's really ambiguous right now because of the fairly ambiguous light I'm painting under. I really wish that sun would have stayed out, or if it would just completely go away, one or the other. But we have some slight hazy sunlight going on, and it keeps kind of going in and out because it's a very thin, annoying cloud cover that goes over this. But I put down this tone here because the local color of the snow is white and the local color of your canvas is white. And if you don't tone your canvas first, the light that you're painting under is going to make you think that it's already the color it's supposed to be, because it's white and so is the snow. Local color, that is. And the ambient light and the sunlight is going to make this about the same color as the snow when you're out here. However, when you get into the studio, it's going to look nasty. It's just going to look stark white, dead. So I like to tone my canvas first so that I can then see the color that the snow is actually supposed to be and put that in there. I thinned this paint with some mineral spirits so it spreads pretty easily. It's very buttery, almost too buttery. As the snow gets closer to me, I am seeing some lighter, warmer passages in it. That's really what I want to get, if I can, is the feeling of depth and distance. For landscape painting, at least for me, that is the most important thing, is a sense of three-dimensional depth. It's a very subtle thing, but if you can capture it, it really helps. And that's part of that's knowing and mastering the principles of angles and consequent values, which is something I teach in my workshops that I do. get some breeze here. I have an umbrella up here in case that sun does come out. I hope the breeze doesn't knock my umbrella away. Almost tipped the whole thing over. They said it was going to get breezy today. And I guess they're right. I think I'm going to stop this and fold up my umbrella quick before we lose the whole thing. Okay, so we got that gone. Now I'm going to paint the snow on the barn. When I look at it, this is slightly warmer, and I'm not really getting this effect with the canvas here, but it's slightly warmer and just a hair darker, but not really. Its value is almost indistinguishable, but it is slightly warmer than the snow on the ground. That's a bit too warm. So I'm going to take some yellow ochre and throw in a little chromium green oxide, because I almost see there's just a slight tinge of green in there. At least that's the impression I'm getting. I think that was a little too warm, so I'm going to take some of the snow color and mix it back in. Just kind of dab it on there. Now, the snow in the barn, when I look at it, it's just slightly cooler. And the sun's coming this way, so I think it's because the snow on the roof of the barn is picking up more of the cool skylight, less of that hazy sun hitting it. Right there, we have on that plane, we have some of the warmer white, but on the rest of it, it gets a little cooler and darker. In fact, give me a second, I'm going to switch to a more precision brush here. Switching to a badger hair brush, just going to give me some more precise drawing. A little more challenging to mix, but and I'm losing quite a bit of hair on it. So this thing's losing hair like crazy. Wow. Gonna blast the full sunlight here. It's not gonna last long though. Okay, gonna get some of the roof in there. The dark part of the roof, that is. Snow is melting, and so some of the roof is being exposed. Just sticking a tone on there, testing it. Value's too dark. So just go a little bit lighter. Switch into a smaller badger hair brush. I think this is actually imitation badger hair. I don't think you can get real badger hair anymore. They're on the endangered species list. Plus they're really good at killing cobras, which is awesome. So I'd hate to see the little guys become extinct. Hate to see any animal become extinct, but I always thought though do they have to kill them to make brushes? Can't they just shave them or something? I don't know. Don't know much about it. Fix up some of the drawing on this barn. Some more stark sunlight. Okay, now this should come down lower. Use my brush there to kind of measure that line. There's something popping up here, some gray thing. I have no idea what it is, but I'm gonna stick it in there. It kind of looks good. Kind of fix up the drawing on that little outbuilding here. And there's some windows there. I'm going to try to get those in. As far as perspective, if you're wondering how I'm dealing with the perspective here, I'm really just feeling it out. I've painted a lot of barns from life over the years, and while I consciously know the all the principles of perspective, most of the time I just feel the whole thing out. Try to be aware of where the horizon line is, and then just go from there. I gotta bring that dark over more. I think I got this white a little too intense. There's actually another structure right behind here that goes like that. Just gonna slightly indicate it. Okay, so let's clean this off. Dealing with the little palette, you got to do a lot of cleaning. If you want to keep your colors clean. I'm just using regular mineral spirits for all of this. I'm not using any other kind of medium. So now let's go in and play with these background trees some more. The sky got a little dark on me. I'm going to lighten it just a bit up here. Okay. So for these background trees, just doing transparent red oxide, ultramarine blue, and a little bit of alizarin. I'm going to try to squint when I put all this in. I should be squinting at the scene anyway, but especially for this part here. So I can kind of correct the drawing on that house a little bit just by cutting back into it with this color. Before I go too far into that, I want to bring in some of the sky color down to the roof of the barn, because that's how it is. And if I bring the tree color down and that's it, and I don't have any of that sky color showing through, we're going to totally lose the roof of that barn. And I don't think that would be a good thing to do compositionally. Even right there, I'm going to have it just angle up there because that is what's there. There's actually a big tree that goes right up in front of this barn, right there. I'll get that in too. That'll happen a little bit later. So for these trees here, you can see I'm not trying to paint every single little branch that I see. I'm doing more of a impression of them. These are big, tall maples back there. Might leave that opening in there. I'm using a bigger bristle brush to put these in. Just using the ends of it, the tip of the brush, loading it up with somewhat thick paint to get in these lighter chunks that I'm seeing. Okay, then we have that same business going on here. And when I glance at the scene, I'm just asking myself, is it getting a little lighter, a little darker, a little warmer, a little cooler? If you could crawl in my head right now, besides the last song I heard in the car radio before I got out, that's what you'd be hearing. Or one of the last songs. Okay, I think I'm going to block in that bigger tree. It's interesting, I actually don't have any paint right there. Should maybe get some. The roof, the snow on the roof is actually melting as I paint here. This patch is getting a lot bigger. But before I put in this thin tree, I should probably get some color on there. I do not want just pure canvas, even if it looks to be correct. I know when I get it back in the studio, it's not going to be the case. I'm going to, whoops, drop that brush. I'm going to take a little artistic liberty and just bring that snow up to the top of the roof there. Just to separate it from the trees there. Okay, so back to this foreground tree business here. This tree goes way up out of the canvas. It's actually where most of the interest happens. Part of me wonders if I should even bother putting it in, but here we go. And here comes the sun, as John Lennon once famously said. funny, I have not painted this in years, but as I sit here and paint it, it's all coming back to me. I remember all these branches and trying to get them in, and okay. That blue is a little too much there. Needs a bit of separation, but not quite as much as I have there. This looks like it's quite dead. Cedar tree. I think it's cedar. And this is the part where you just squint at the scene and just start adding in, you know, some of this foliage and things that you see. Very simple colors: yellow ochre, transparent red oxide, and ultramarine blue. Just in different variations. And I got to go pretty thick with it at times because I put this thick snow color on, and so to lay it over, I just go even thicker with the next color. There's some stuff I'm just going to leave out because it would just make the scene way too complex. If I were doing this as a commission for a history buff, and believe me, there are a lot of history buffs around here, I would probably have to put all that business in, just like it is, just to keep the guy happy. But I'm doing this for myself. Threw in a little bit of chromium green oxide into the mix. Now there's all these rocks in here along this fence line. I'm going to try to paint each individual one like it is. I'm more or less squinting and just kind of sticking them in, you know, focusing on the pattern, not on each individual thing. You'd be out here all day if you were trying to paint each individual rock. And it might not be a bad thing if you have nowhere else to go, but if the lighting was changing on you, now this kind of lighting you kind of do have all day, but if the lighting is going to change on you, like if it were stark sunlight, you would not have more than 2 to 2.5 hours at most before the light's completely different. Now I'm going to try to think design, kind of a lead-in with how I arrange these darks. And these are just some weeds out here. And when you're doing this, when you're mixing, you know, a color like transparent red oxide and ultramarine blue, you probably want to lean a little more toward the transparent red oxide, because you're mixing into thicker white paint. And I try to leave some of the paint off of the these areas where these weeds would go, but you know, you're gonna have to mix up into the paint. And when you mix into that paint, that white paint, it's gonna cool it. And unless you want it cool, you are gonna have to compensate. Okay, to kind of emphasize the rock pattern here, I mixed some more of the snow color. I'm just laying that back over these darks. Okay, now for the fun part. This is a part I always love about painting this barn, is the fence. These old, I think they're called wormwood fences. Old rickety things. One could do a painting just of these fences and have something really neat. Now there's more fencing back here, and it's a lot more neat, shall we say. Okay, as I was saying, I had the battery in my camera went dead really fast, really suddenly, but I don't like neat in my paintings. I like old, nostalgic things. Also, there's a fence, another fence that goes up here behind this one. I'm just going to leave that out. Because I think it'd be too much. Said I'm sure some history buff would come and set me straight. But if it's that important to him, he can commission me. Okay, and for the last part, I'm taking a palette knife, loading some paint up on it. The beautiful thing is it doesn't have to be perfect. It's better if it's just interesting. That's what I like about using a palette knife on this. For the background one, I'm going to go a little smaller. With the knife, go to my little palette knife here. think we're on the home run stretch here. Which is good because the wind's starting to pick up again. If you're an oil painter and want to take your skills to the next level, or just having difficulty getting started, you don't have to go it alone. You can take live online oil painting classes right from your own home. All you need is a computer, an internet connection, and your painting supplies. Every week, we'll meet live as a group and work on a painting step by step, with me sharing over 20 years of artistic experience to help you become the best artist you can be. Want more details? Click on the link below in the description or go to my website, www.jasontako.com, and click on workshops in the upper menu.